All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to the last session for week 2 of the First Year Experience Summer Series. Again, my name is Adriana So, and I am a college success coach with the American Indian College Fund, but I also help lead the First Year Experience program at the College Fund. So I might have met you over the week, or you might have seen me at the kickoff event for the First Year Experience program. And I'm just really glad to be here with all of you. And I'm so thankful that you are all enjoying the content and the guest speakers that we've had so far. We've covered a lot of really amazing topics, and I hope that whether you're a student now or going to be a student, or you're a family member or your staff or faculty, you feel a little bit more confident about approaching the first year, whether you're going into your first year or you're working with those students who are going into that transition period to be a college student. So today we have a really amazing guest who is actually a first year advisor herself at Navajo Technical University in Crown Point, New Mexico. As you know, Navajo Tech is and just make sure to mute yourself as you're coming in, please. So Sharietta is a first year advisor at Navajo Technical University, which is a tribal college. It's one of, I believe, 3 on the Navajo reservation. Is it 3? I'm not too sure. I think that's a lie. I think it's 2. But we're really excited to have her here. She's going to be talking about how to stay persistent in the face of adversity when different challenges may arise, and just how to stay motivated and everything. And then we'll cover this topic a little bit more as far as like mental health and preparing yourself for these different challenges as we go into week 3 as well. So we definitely invite you to attend those sessions. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Sharietta.
Hi, Yate. Thank you, Adriana, for the opportunity to be part of your series. And just to quickly introduce myself, I'll start my presentation, and I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so of course, my cover page, First Year Experience Virtual Summer Series. My topic is persistence in the face of adversity. My name is Sharietta Martinez Brown. I am a first year experience career and academic advisor here at Navajo Technical University. Okay, so for my introduction, my clan is Red Bottom Cheek people born for the Apache Edgewater. My maternal grandparent is the Water Flows Together, and my paternal grandparents are the Black Sheep clan. So my language, I would introduce myself as, so I would say my clan as Yate Sharietta Martinez Brown Shia, Dlashti and Shlom, Zalkai Tropahan Bashishtin, Toadlini Dashache dot Betlajene Dashanella, Kada A Sanishla, Adat Le, Toj Ediden Eya Ayusinisha. That's where I'm from. Little Water is about maybe 3 miles outside of Crown Point. That's where I was born and raised. I am a mother of 3 children. I currently have a first year student who's going to be coming here. My son actually chose to come to Navajo Tech, so I'm glad to say he's going to do wonders here at Navajo Tech. I hope he does. And I have 2 little ones who started high school this year. My middle child, she started her junior year, and then my little one started her freshman year. So we all live here in Crown Point. I enjoy working for the Tribal University. I am the alumni of Navajo Technical University. I started off with my certificate in legal assistant, went into the associate's program for the law advocate, and then I went into the bachelor's program and I got my degree in IT computer science. I currently am full-time as the first year experience academic advisor, and I also do adjunct instructing for 1 class every semester. So it kind of varies. It's usually in a business program. And I also do volunteer advising for our AHEC Hand Games team And also I'm also an advisor for our Miss NTU. So that's who I am here at Navajo Technical University. Okay, so my topic today was to talk about persistence and adversity. So when you think about those things, first you kind of was like, what is adversity? A lot of us, we kind of hear that word, but we don't really understand it. So when you look into a dictionary, it's defined as difficulties or misfortune. The word itself is a noun, and in the Western world, it means something that's unfavorable or a distress that you're going through. So, and then in our indigenous world, it's being resilient. It's like resilience. So in our Diné language, we would say adversity would be something like I'm not fluent in Navajo, so I'm trying to remember the word. Well, there's really not one specific word, but they would say like a phrase, and that phrase is always ego, meaning like you got to do it yourself, meaning no matter what you're going through, no matter what distress or anything that is happening to you, for us, they say those things are happening to you for a reason. And usually those reasons later on are building up towards something that's going to be a blessing back to you somehow in some way. The photo that you see here is actually a photo of my grandma, my mother's mom. And she was a single parent to my mom. And my mom also became a single parent later on in life. And so I come from a background of strong Navajo women. So I was actually amazed to see this magazine that came out, and it was delivered yesterday, and it just so happened I was walking into another office and here in our Skyhawk Central, and I saw it, and it just blew me away, and I was like, oh my goodness, if my grandma knew, if only my grandma knew, like she would one day be on the cover of a magazine, national magazine, it was really breathtaking. It seemed like, oh my gosh, I got to use this in my presentation. But my sister actually, she graduated from here at Navajo Tech in the computer or information technology program, and she had entered the AHEC conference in one of the competitions, and it was the arts competition, and she entered this along with another piece of my grandpa, and she did the graphic design. So this is actually her work. So I was really proud of it, and I wanted to use it in my presentation as, to me, she is my backbone of and she's the definition of I guess resilience for me. So I used her picture here. So going on, we want to know what the word persistence is. So persistence is defined as perseverance, persisting in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. So being in any situation as a first year student, as any student, you're always going to come across a lot of challenges. And for us, having a little bit of support and always being constantly reminded for us to be resilient, it's what gets us through the days sometimes. And I think that's really important for us to keep in mind, especially for our first year students when they come here on campus. So here I have a picture of a student who is taking advantage of a study session, a tutoring session. And we usually have a big study group. We open up the gym, we provide food, we bring in tutors, we bring in little supplies, for students to get ready for midterm exams and finals week. So this is one of our students who is, he's like, man, I'm struggling. I got behind. And so he was doing a lot of catch up at the last minute. And this gentleman actually pretty much stayed the entire day, just getting the help that he needed. And I'm glad that we had, staff on board and volunteers who were patient enough to help our students who were in similar situations. And there at the bottom, this picture is actually a picture of my niece. She graduated back in 2020. She got her associates, and now she's working on her bachelor's here at Navajo Tech. So she's kind of my vision of persistence too. So I used her in this presentation. So now we go to my story. So I have a story regarding adversity and persistence, and it relates to how I got through my journey here at Navajo Technical University. Growing up, I always had my parents, they always told us, education is important. Education is important. You need a college degree. If you don't want to struggle in life, always look towards education. Now that was always instilled in us. And so right after graduation, I went to college, and I wasn't the first in my college. My brother was actually the first in our family to actually go to college, but he only completed about 2 semesters, and then he felt college wasn't for him, and he went straight into the workforce. My older sister, she went straight into the workforce for a little bit. She kind of held off on her education, and so technically I was the first one to actually go to college and kind of like try to continue in college. So when I first went to school, I ended up leaving here in Crown Point, graduating from Crown Point, and then moving to a border town, which is in Gallup, New Mexico. While I was still in high school, I met my husband at the time, and we moved to Gallup. So I was there working and going to school at the same time, but I eventually didn't finish my whole year, or my first year in college there. I went 1 semester, and then I felt, like I'm not making, this isn't working for me. And also at the time, my husband wasn't, he couldn't find work that was stable for him. So I ended up going through our workforce program here in Crown Point, and I got set up to go to school in Phoenix, where they were going to help me to get a degree or a certificate in billing and coding. So I went to a private school there, and while I was in Phoenix, I was there for maybe a year, a little bit over a year and a half maybe, and I completed my program there. And then I came back, went to work with the IHS in Chinle. And when I was there, I was only working there for maybe 2 months, and I was living at my uncle's place at the time, and we eventually lost my uncle during that time, and I ended up having no place to stay, and being that we're on the reservation and there's no apartments, I ended up having to drive back and forth from Crown Point to Chinle, which was a 2-hour drive there and another 2-hour drive coming home. So I was only able to do that for like 2 weeks, and it just really drained me. And I was like, I can't do this. And so my next option was, okay, let me go back to school. So then that didn't work out because I was in the middle of semesters. So I just started looking for work, and I ended up going to work. So as time progressed, I was in and out of work and school. I finally went to, at the time it was called the Rye Institute in Albuquerque. I went into their program for criminal justice, and I did that for maybe 2 semesters. And then barely finishing my last semester, it became super hard because I wasn't working at the time. We were doing silver work. My kids' dad and we were doing silver work to finance our way, to pay for our bills, to pay for gas to get to point A to point B for class. And so it became even more difficult for us. So then I eventually was like, okay, I got to do something. I need to get back to my education. So I enrolled here at Navajo Tech. At the time it was called Navajo Technical College when I enrolled here. And I started out in their certificate program. And as I progressed, I graduated into their law program. And during that time, I was going through some challenges. The biggest challenge was dealing with domestic violence. That's something that a lot of our students go through, but they don't openly share, hey, I'm going through this, and also, of course, financial difficulties and just balancing life in general. So those were some of the things that I had to go through. And upon completing my degree or my associate's program, I knew that I wanted to, of course, take the Navajo Nation bar exam. So that was my goal at the time, right before my graduation. And during the last semester of my graduation from the law program, the law advocate program, I ended up losing my little brother. So again, that was a challenge for me because I had to go through some grieving. It was hard for me to focus on everything. It was hard for me to focus on my family, myself, my education. And so that took a big toll on me. And I remember I came to class and I told my instructor, I'm going to pull out from taking the bar exam because he was helping me do my application to actually go and take the Navajo Nation bar exam. And he was really disappointed, and he was like, just do it. But I knew myself that I was in no frame of mind to focus on the bar exam. And I tried to explain that to him, but he I think he had so much expectations in me that it really made him disappointed, I guess. And I remember leaving frustrated and upset with him. And I went home and dealing with everything else, and I thought, okay. And then I thought about, I can't be at home. If I can't find a job right now, I'm just going to continue with my education because I can't do too much with just an associate's degree. So I enrolled into the bachelor's program and I got into the IT program. So as semesters progressed, I pretty much was working towards keeping my grades up, when I was in class, and I was an older person compared to all my other peers in the classroom. I felt like I was the oldest out of all of them. And I was really intimidated with technology and learning all these programming and learning algorithms. It was a challenge for me because I hadn't been too exposed to technology compared to these younger generation who already had computers school in high school, who already knew the latest apps that was going on, so they were like well advanced than I was, and they had a bigger advantage over me. That's how I felt, at least. And so I ended up struggling in class. And it turned out, like I would talk to, I knew that I had to, number one, communicate more with my instructors. I had to make friends with my peers so that I could ask for help. I also had to reach out to local resources. And so at the time, I made friends with my peers, and we ended up helping one another throughout semesters after semesters. And as things were progressing in school, my life was kind of falling apart at home. If you look here, you can see the picture of myself and my kids and their dad. And then here is my late brother with my daughter. And here's my late dad with me, and just a little screenshot that I took of some of the messages that him and I had. But during the time when I had my world kind of fall apart, and earlier I told you guys, I was experiencing domestic violence at the time. I had finally came to a point where I knew I had to make myself feel safe. I need to make myself more independent, and I had to make life different for my kids. I had to keep them safe in a sense. And so I decided to tell my family what I was experiencing, and I made that choice to separate. So all this I had to do while I was still trying to focus on school. And so, long story short, had that all go through, and this all happened in spring of 2014, I believe. I finally was able to get through all that. And so I remember walking on campus one day and thinking, how am I going to do this? And I came across passing our tutoring resource. And I saw a little sign there that said hiring for tutors. So I was like, hey, I can work here to make some money, and while I'm still going to school, because I didn't want to leave school. I wanted to keep focus on my education. And so I went and made time to update my resume, fill out the application. And I finally got the courage to go talk to the coordinator who was working in the tutoring office. And I told her that I needed a part-time job. So I sat there and gave her my resume, my application, kind of told her, I'm a hard worker. Education is still my priority. And she's like, yeah, I'll hire you. And I got hired right on the spot. And she's like, can you start tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll start tomorrow. So that kind of helped me to kind of support myself in a sense, as far as I now could still continue my education. I can have a little support money for me and my family. And also, I still had the support of my family. So I went home, sat down, talked to my siblings, my mom, my dad. I told them, I said, hey, I know I'm going through all this, but I need your help. The only way I can get through this is with your help. So my sisters and my mom, they helped me as far as looking after my kids for me, going to my kids' school activities when I couldn't. If I needed extra time to spend at school to do homework, they were there to take care of all the other stuff for me. If there was times if I needed, extra gas money or something, my family was there to help me. And the only way that happened was because I was open with them. I told them, this is my goal, this is what I need to do, this is how I'm going to do it. I had to have a plan to tell my family, this is where I need your help. And of course they offered whatever help they could give me. If you look here in the picture, this was me the day I first turned in my application and decided to get my job, get my life back on track. This is me on that day. And this is me recently, not today, but recently. And these are my kids. I had to go through all these decisions. I had to make all these changes, whether I was afraid or not. And I had to keep in mind that I needed to stay focused on my education, was because of my kids. And then here, because I accepted all the adversities that were coming my way, I ended up using that to be a foundation for me. So every challenge that was put in front of me, I overcame it. And it was like a building block for me. It became a building block where I was building myself up in a positive way, instead of making myself feel like I wasn't going to be able to accomplish things or trying to give up on stuff. So like now, this is a picture of me just back a few months ago. I was asked to do a presentation for the ATD conference in Chicago, Illinois, and it was regarding our Skyhawk for Success program here at Navajo Tech. So everything that I went through in my life, every challenge that I had that impacted me while I was on my academic journey, I use that when students come and say, hey, Sharetta, I'm going through this, or what do you think I should do about this? I put myself in some of my experiences that I had, or, how can I help my student? And so that's how we ended up really helping our students. I ended up being one of those people who used all those experiences. And that's how I ended up being to where I was at, where I was asked to do that presentation. And then, of course, I had my Dean of Student Services and our data person, our data analyst help me with this presentation. Here you can see where I come from. This is my mom. This is my sister, my older sister. She's the one that did the graphic design. This is my younger sister. She works as an LPN. This is my older brother. He works with the housing authority, the tribal housing authority. Of course, this is me. This is my late dad. My late brother, of course, you guys saw him in the other picture. But that's kind of my background of everything. So my persistence, despite going through everything, there was one thing that I always kept in mind, and it's this here. what I can control and what I can't. So every time I came across any challenges in life, whether it's school, academics, or career, this is what I always come back to. And this is something maybe you as first year students, or you as a parent, even you as a non-traditional or traditional student, this is some resources that could help you too, is going back and looking at some of these resources that might be available. My persistence was, I knew I had to continue with every challenge that was coming my way, because with all the adversities that we go through on a daily basis, and especially what I went through, I always think back, this is nothing compared to what I had to overcome a few years ago or a few days ago. This will be easier for me to get through. So that's always my train of thought of getting through daily challenges that come my way, whether it's in academics or my professional life or personal life. Keeping myself healthy. I know, like, before everything else, going through what I had to go through, I learned that I needed to keep myself healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually. Setting examples for my children / relatives, as you seen earlier in my slides. I have my nieces and nephews who are, some are still in high school, some are in college now. Some of them are actually have gone through NTU because they see what the school has offered. They see what the school has done for me and my sister. And so, they kind of are like, well, I'm gonna try what Auntie's doing. So they kind of followed in our footsteps. And even here, they've come through challenges on their own, but they were able to get the same resources, to get the same support that I had, the supports that I needed while I was here. So that's one thing that, as first year students or regular students, always use your resources that are available. Find out where you can get help on campus anytime, because for every little problem, there's always a solution. It's just a matter of finding the resources. So going back to being the topic of persisting through all these challenges, especially keeping my focus on finishing my education. I had to think of my babies, and they were my biggest motivation to stay in school, because I knew I had to finish what I started. I knew I had to finish my degree in order to get a decent job, that would pay for a good lifestyle for my kids. Because, of course, as a parent, you don't want your kids to go through what you went through. You want things to be a little bit easier for them. So with all these in mind, that's one of the biggest inspiration for me, was keeping myself in school so that I could finish, so that I can make a life for my kids. And now that I look back, I think, wow, I got my son through high school. I got him through one of the pillars in life for him was to graduate high school. Now that's kind of like ending his childhood journey. So now we're starting his adult journey. And that kind of made me, when I first was thinking, like, oh my gosh, I have a senior. My son is graduating, and so I'm really thankful that I was able to finish my goals, so that he can see and follow those things. Like, he can say, well, mom went to school, mom finished college, now I'm going to go to college. So for him to continue on, that makes me feel good, because everything I've gone through is worth seeing my son go towards something positive, and for him to continue his education. And then going on, the middle one here, she's the baby of my family. She's the one that just started high school. She's the one that kind of witnessed a lot of, well, all of them in a sense kind of witnessed all the crazy trials and tribulations that I had to go through to get to where I'm at, so now, they look back and they're like, I'm glad you finished I'm glad you finished college, Mom. I want to go to college. I want to get a master's degree. I want to be a veterinarian, So they have these dreams, these goals, because they see, if Mom can do it, I can do it. So I'm glad that I was able to let all these challenges strengthen me so that I was able to finish my degree, get a job, and make a good lifestyle for them, and to put that mindset that education is important. So going back to using everything that I had to go through while I was in college and here at the university, I used that towards helping my students, like giving back. Like one of the things that I do is I'm usually lead usher for graduation. And this is like an extra big task that is put upon me, but I volunteer to do it because I get to see all these students finish up their program. I get to see them to be happy. I get to see their families. And some of them, will come back to me and say, hey, Sharetta, because of you, I was able to do this. For an example, this gentleman here, he had got done with graduation. Him and his family were halfway home, and he tells his mom, we got to turn around. I got to thank Miss Martinez, And he came back and, he told me, thank you for getting me through school, because he had similar crazy challenges that he had to go through. And with me being there to support him and leading him to all these resources that he used, So now he, at the time he finished his welding program, but now, he's like, I want to be a teacher. I want to go back and teach students, my people. So he's wanting to be a welding instructor for local high schools or high schools on the reservation. So now he's back and doing his bachelor's degree in early childhood. So I was amazed. And that's one of the biggest rewards that I like to hear, is just a simple thank you, and I wouldn't be able to pass these resources or these supports to my students if I didn't go through what I went through, because that's what made me who I am, to have that empathy for students, to push myself to be as much as resourceful as I could be so that I can help students. Resources I used. So going back to when I was in doing my studies here, I knew I had to apply for as much scholarships as possible because I knew I wasn't working. So I made my education kind of like my job. I treated my education like it was my job. I applied for all kinds of scholarships. The scholarships that I did get, I budget my money. I made sure that I paid my electric bill 3 months in advance. Well, I knew I had a whole semester. I paid everything in advance: the electric, the water, car payments, insurance, all these things, because I knew I had to focus on my education. I knew in order for me to stay employed as a tutor, I had to have a 3.0 to 3.5 or 3.0 to 4.0 GPA to keep my job as a tutor. I knew that I had to keep my grades up in order to keep my scholarships. And I knew, and I took advantage of all those things. And when I knew I had trouble with homework, I asked for help. I got tutoring, I got mentoring. I know there was a time when I was really struggling with my physics. I don't know if you guys are good with science and math, but physics is the class that made me cry, literally made me cry, because I would sit there for 6 hours just doing like 5 problems. And I remember each problem was like maybe a page and a half long of math and stuff. And it was crazy, but I got through it, and I got through it because I was persistent. I got through it because, I made sure that I asked for the help, and I didn't give up on it. As many times as I wanted to give up, I didn't give up, because I knew I had to pass those classes to keep my grades. I knew I had to pass that class to graduate. So I had a lot on the line for me not to give up. So once I got done, using all those, I got ready. I got done with my degrees here at NTU, and I went into the workforce here, because I was doing such a good job. I was hired on, like, even 2 weeks before my graduation. I was hired on for a permanent job here. So basically, I was kind of recruited into NTU, and it was because of all the hard work I did while I was here as a student. I pushed myself, I proved myself, so that made it kind of easier for me to get into the workforce. But at the same time, it was hard work to get that opportunity. So when I got into my career, I networked a lot. I got myself involved with a lot of organizations, a lot of business. I took on a lot of responsibilities that were outside my comfort zone, also outside of my my regular job description. I still do that to this day, and that's just to get as much experience as I can while I'm out there, and because I'm building my professional development. And I always have that mentality that you always learn something new every day, and there's a reason why you're learning those things. So I take advantage of everything. Another thing that I do is I get involved a lot with things that are happening on campus. And that, again, helps me to build my resume, helps me to build my resources. This picture here is my son and I at his high school graduation, because if I didn't do these things, if I didn't utilize these things, now this probably wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have the funds to make my son's graduation nice, or to the knowledge to help him through some of his challenges in school, like his English and math, stuff like that. Another resource that I used was using my culture. I always think, wow, I don't know how it happened or when it happened, but it seemed like every time we had ceremonies, I was drawn to it, and I was able to help myself in a spiritual way in that sense. So utilizing your culture to get you through challenges and adversities out there, use it, because it takes care of you. And then during all these times too, I also reflected back on the teachings that I was given, my grandparents and my dad, my mom, all these teachings. It kind of like clicked. Certain days I was going through certain things, and it's like, remember this, remember that, personal concerns. I always took care of what needed to be taken care of. If I needed financial assistance, transportation, childcare, I wasn't afraid to go apply for food stamp. I wasn't afraid to go apply for TANF. You know, whatever I could use, I took advantage of it. So don't be afraid to get help, because it's only temporary. And somewhere down the line, when you go back into the workforce, you're going to be helping others. You know, you're by paying taxes and stuff like that. One of the other things that got me through school too was being a part of different organizations, meeting new people. You know, there's all kinds of people out there who go through all kinds of experiences. Some are good, some are bad, but you learn from them. You know, you get inspired by people. So when you're in college, you know, don't be afraid to meet new people. Don't be afraid to meet new friends, because they're going to be there in a good way for you. And also there will be some who will be there to teach you the bad ways. But you don't want to do that, because you want to stay on the right track. Okay. This was taken during my summer LEAP program. One of the things that I did was I took my students to our 4 sacred mountains. And this was during the time of the pandemic, when the pandemic kind of slowed down a bit. And each one of these students, you know, they had their own challenges, adversities that were bothering them at the time. And by going to these places, making their offerings, doing their prayers, you know, it helped them. It helped them to fix them mentally, physically, and spiritually, so that when they came back for the fall semester, you know, they were ready to go, and they finished out their summer LEAP program with A's, you know. So having that culture as one of your foundations it's good to use it. This was during, of course, during the pandemic, when we all had to go use technology 100%. Now that was a big challenge that we all had to go through, and I know all of our students went through. Even us as faculty, some of us had to relearn how to do technology. Some of us never used Zoom before, and we had to learn crash course on it, you know, stuff like that. And of course, this is me with my first year students. Every year, you know, I know that it's hard to make a lot of adjustments in life, and adapting to a lot of new things. It's a challenge to experience something new. And I always think, you know, like, giving my students support, no matter how small or how big, you know, that'll encourage them to continue to go through and be resilient. So one of the things that I do for my first year students is I do a little recognition for them at the end of the semester. So like for students who had a 4.0, you know, I got them jackets. For 3.0, I got them hoodies. For 2.0, I got them some really nice long sleeve shirts. So things like that is what, you know, every little thing, small or big. One quote that I always remember is this quote. It says, "Your hardest times often lead the greatest moments of your life. Keep going. Tough situations build strong people in the end." So in summary, I had to persevere to get where I am at. But because I made it through those hardships, I am who my ancestors prayed I would be. Stay resilient. So that's my message to you guys. So my message basically is, no matter what kind of hardships you're going to endure through school, through whether it's your personal life, professional life, your academic life, you know, as long as you remember that you've gone through worse, you'll be okay. You'll be able to get through the little things that you think are huge. And at the end, the blessings are 10 times better than what you thought. For me, when I first thought, okay, I can't continue with my education, I'm just going to stay home, and I didn't fall into that. If I fell into that, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I am so glad that I had the strength and the courage to overcome all these challenges in my life, and that I'm able to be a stronger person, and I'm able to be a good example for my kids and for my people. But I want to thank you guys for sitting through my presentation. I hope it helps you. My contact information is here. If you should ever need to contact me, I'm willing to help you in any way. If you need resources, I'm available. And again, thank you for this opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sharietta. I definitely enjoyed every single word that you said, and all your experiences that you shared and everything. And thank you for taking time and opening up to everybody here in attendance. And for those of you who will be watching on YouTube as well, we definitely feel the vibes here. So hopefully you still feel the vibes there. But thank you, Sharietta. We really appreciate that. And yeah, I can't help echo everything that you said about, really utilizing your resources on campus. Whether you're on campus or you're remote, there's going to be a lot of resources for you to utilize. And the biggest thing is you taking that first step to asking for help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. It's something that, in the space that you're in, when you're in your undergrad for 2 years, for longer than that, you're gonna find times where it's gonna be hard to find those resources in the real world, I guess. While you're in your undergraduate years, everything is kind of centralized in your campus, whether, again, if you're on campus or if you're online, everybody there wants to help you. Student success services, advisors, faculty, they really want to help you. So the biggest thing for you to do is going to be to make that first step to ask for help. Or if you want to connect with somebody, if you want to connect with Sharietta, you can connect with her. She has her contact information and everything. So thank you so much for all those words. All right, people. So we know the drill so far, hopefully. But that was Sharietta's presentation. So thank you so much again for that. And that was the last session for the week 2 of the first year experience summer series. So here's everything that you're waiting for. Like I said, we're doing door prizes at the end of August. So the way that you're going to enter to win a prize is to submit your survey. So Mariah, if you're still here, can you please paste the survey for the week 2 sessions? But you can also utilize the QR code, which is on here. And this week we had time management with me. I opened it up, and then being a first generation student discussion with Brittany yesterday. And now today was persistence in the face of diversity with Sharietta. So now after you fill out your survey, you can be entered to win into any of these prizes. And again, the surveys will be subjected to each week. So we have week 1 survey, week 1 session surveys, week 2 session surveys. Next week we'll have week 3 session surveys. And you should have got an email from us if you're subscribed to the newsletter. But we'll also be posting that on our Native Pathways as well. But if you attend 1 session and finish 1 survey, you are entered to win a $50 gift card. If you attend 2 sessions and fill out 2 surveys, you're entered to win a Sony wireless headphone set. If you attend 3 sessions and fill out 3 surveys, you will be entered to win an Amazon Fire tablet. And then for all of our go-getters out there, if you attend 4 or more sessions and fill out the respective surveys, you'll be entered to win a grand prize of a Lenovo laptop. So again, all session surveys will be closing on September 1st. So you'll have 1 week after we conclude the summer series to go back to the YouTube videos and watch and submit your session surveys. But other than that, We also are going to be having our closing celebration on August 24th, and that's going to be where we're gonna, basically just close out the summer session. We're gonna have a keynote speech from Dr. Amanda Sheremiah, which some of you may be aware of. And then we're also gonna be having a 5-student panel of current and former students who graduated. And this will be a time for you to ask them any questions regarding, first year experience, being a student overall, any advice, any, tips that they can give you, anything you wanna know about, student life or college. You can utilize the QR code right here and enter a question, or you can wait until the celebration happens and you can ask questions live there as well. This just kind of gives you a head start if you wanted to do that. Okay, and then pretty much that's it. So we just ended week 2, so now we're going to be heading into week 3, and we'll be starting off with an announcement actually. So we originally had Tanaya Winder, who was going to do a session, but unfortunately she had to cancel. But we were able to pick up another session regarding using your resources. So it'll be called Exhausting Your Resources, learning everything about what's available to you as a student on campus and how to utilize and why you should be utilizing those resources. So that'll be with Allison, who is a current student at Navajo Tech, I believe. And we'll be going next with Shoshani Perez with goal setting, and then establishing a growth mindset with Elizabeth Johnson. So those will be our next 3 sessions for next week. Other than that, we are all concluded here. Thank you all so much for being here again, and we hope to see you again next week. Sharietta, thank you, and we will see you all. Have a good weekend, and please stay safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.